Good morning, Hallowed Haven family. This is After Dawn, the show where we sit down to have a cup of coffee with the cast, crew, and creators behind the Hallowed Haven Studios productions. I'm Saul, and I'm joined by my co-host, Legacy.
Yes, hello. I'm Legacy, and today we're going to be talking about the series finale of Chill the Office, their 8th episode, Redundancy. So basically, the group of coworkers who have been having a couple of really off Fridays throughout the series. They finally had to go in and open that portal into the multitude of dimensions to try to get Warwick and company back to where they really need to be in order to fight back for their territory. But after opening the portal, a couple of them, and when I say a couple of them, I mean all of them, got pulled into what really stemmed their journeys with Save. Some of us having a bit more tragic happenings than others, and some nice character backstory enrichment to kind of get a better understanding of these characters and their affiliations with some of the SPCs. After which, it was discovered that they needed to figure out the math problem that Kayla had been working on in order to fully get them back into their respected dimensions, leading into a just barely hang on the line victory for the group, and something unfortunately happening to Frankie, getting her pulled into another dimension, and well, the rest is a bit up in the air as to what happens. I thought it was a phenomenal episode, and getting to sit in with these lovely individuals and getting to take in all the details. I thought that the finale was a nice bow to just put on top and wrap it all up. But my feelings aren't the only opinions in here. What are your thoughts, Saul?
Well, Legacy, I am inclined to agree. I think it was a really good way to sort of put a pin in everything. Everyone played their characters to their what I think is their logical conclusions, and it was just great to see everyone come together one last time to save the world, or at least the office. But also, my opinions are not the only ones here today, and we're joined by all of our wonderful players and our GM, Scott. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Oh my gosh, it's like a party.
It's weird.
Hello. It's a very busy coffee shop today.
Yes. I would like to start out by saying, Legacy, how dare you refer to it as enrichment like we're some kind of a zoo animal? Is that all we are to you? Entertainment?
Well, you're not one? There's a glass pane right in my sitting room right now, and people are looking at me.
Who are these people?
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
Who hired you?
I mean, this coffee shop has 9th-dimensional creatures in it, so, hey.
It's true. And Frankie's here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because she made her choices.
And they were great choices.
Anyway.
One way to describe them.
They only were choices.
They were, in fact, decisions. So, Scott, first off, welcome to the other side of the After Dawn table.
Yeah, it's nice being here on this side of the table again. We did this for a hype episode, and that was the last time I was here.
Exactly.
I like what you've done with the place.
It's been so long. So first and foremost, what was it like running this game as a continuation of the one-shot you ran before, but also letting it become more of its own thing, to have the office almost become its own character?
It was really fun, honestly. This whole thing stemmed from these other people in here with me that came up with a very interesting kind of premise, and just kind of rolling with their ideas that were off the wall and supernatural adjacent was pretty fun to let it just kind of form and let them essentially dictate what was going on. I just had floating plot points that they kept walking themselves into, so it was wonderful.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering if like is this like all like standard, or is this just sort of like letting things go? Like I personally wanted to see more of the army ants because I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, the Army Ants idea was one that I threw out there for the Patreons, right? And they voted on it, and that's what they wanted to see. We got some involvement with that, but it was because it wasn't super pertinent to what the players here were wanting to do. It didn't get really explored too much, but it was interesting that they did eventually establish sort of diplomatic relations with the Army Ants, who may or may not eventually surpass them in technology and leave for like another dimension or planet.
When do we get spacefaring ants?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do they consider Kayla a god?
Second good question.
I mean, yeah, if we were to see where that would go, I mean, it's possible. At the very least, some kind of alien entity thing, right? Like that brought them a gift that they could use that would help sustain their development and growth for a period of time.
It's very important.
So,
How did the office even get ants?
How did the office get a leak that moves every day?
I mean, listen, somebody is just kind of nonchalant about spilling a sugar on the floor, and that's how you get ants.
That's how you get ants.
Do you want ants?
That's how you get ants.
That's how you get ants.
That's how you get ants, yeah.
All right. So, to all of our players, what did you guys think of this campaign? What was it like to like Solomon here said, kind of playing these characters from this one shot back in December and like continuing their journey in their lives? How was that to you guys?
I was waiting because I didn't want to speak over someone, but I'll start. It was super interesting because originally it was all for like a one shot, so it's like, all right, we're all just gonna be like pre-generated characters, it's whatever. And then it's like part of the process as Scott was walking us through it. It's like, okay, so now you guys get to make your save envoy. What that's like. Keep in mind though, it's probably not going to be a big thing since you guys are going to be doing this one shot or go around doing things. And we just kept coming up with stuff that we thought was like funny, and it turned into this whole office thing, and that became its own season because we or at least Scott really wanted to explore more about that office, and we were all for also exploring it. So it was a lot of fun. It was really, really cool to see how things just develop like that.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting being able to get, I guess, more of a perspective on the characters, because we didn't really get the chance to do much development because it was a one shot and we were using pre-generated characters. So it was nice to have that chance to actually have them come into themselves and grow as people.
I agree. It was really fun getting to actually learn about the characters and like develop them. It was really cool just seeing the different personalities and how we kind of were all able to take just a pre-generated character and make it really our own.
Yeah, I mean, the system is great for, like, one of the things that it does is, like, okay, so whether or not you're using pre-generated characters, as part of the character development, you have to build your office together as a community. And I thought that's what was so strong about this, is that this office was essentially what they had created, and I just codified it and then let them play around in their sandbox.
And realistically, I think that all came off of us like not really being sure about anything back in the one shot. So we were all like, I mean, sure, this works. Doesn't really require much. It doesn't really have much impact on either side of anything. And now here we are, wrapping up a whole game.
Having an extremely bureaucratic office sounds like fun, but we won't ever see it probably.
We won't have to deal with the pain and suffering of that ever.
So much paperwork that Frankie didn't do.
So much paperwork.
Kayla doing
I don't know how you guys
2
did it.
people worth of paperwork.
Sounds exhausting.
Speaking of paperwork, it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense why now everything had to be so much in triplicate. It's all used for magic or science or whatever they did to make a portal out of paperwork.
Well,
Why not both?
only
Or
one
Los
copy.
Dos.
Only one copy was used for magic. One was for records. The other was for
Research.
yeah, like the intern's incessant note taking on fucking everything.
You know, when I was sort of writing the campaign, I was like, okay, what does our big bad Warfin want to do? And then I was like, how does that relate to the bureaucracy? And then I was like, what if the portal is made out of paper mache and therefore he needs as much paperwork as possible? And then it just went from there.
And then he went from being a big bad to someone that the group was working with.
Yeah. And that was all the players. I intended for him to just be this like body snatching big bad guy. And then they were like, oh, well, I mean, I guess you have semi good intentions. Sure.
We just needed him out of the world.
Yeah. I mean, so you're snatching bodies, but if it's so you can go back and win a war, I guess you can just get out.
Yeah, like I think that's the important thing is we can get rid of them.
It was very much a matter of like, we don't care if you're the good guys or not. We just don't want you here.
Yeah,
Take your problems and move them somewhere else.
This
Because it
is
doesn't
not
affect us once you go to your next upper plane or whatever.
exactly.
After about the 25th dimension, you can really stop caring.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after about the 4th dimension, they can't fathom it anyway, so who cares?
It's true.
I mean, I stopped carrying around the 3rd one.
Specifically after 5 p.m.
Y'all care?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So I have a very important question for everyone. What was everyone's favorite character? Player characters, SPC, or otherwise?
Ooh, I gotta think about that. Someone else
I both love and hate the fact that Scott made me care about Karen.
I mean, Karen was great. I loved all my SPCs, though.
Karen was great, but Karen was also fucking terrible.
She was so
Slap,
awful. It was
click.
wonderful.
Slap,
No.
click. Slap,
There's the
click.
slap click. You stop that.
Gross.
Somebody please mute Legacy. Virons, can we mute that in editing?
Yeah,
No.
Get it out of
I
here.
need
Get
you
it.
to make it louder in editing.
No,
Thank you.
No, don't listen.
No, I will say that I loved all of my player characters and all of my voiced SPCs. Every one of the SPCs did a great job. All of the people that came in and did it, like, took my weird ideas and ran with them. Ulrich was doing great as the info guy, so I didn't have to, like, hoard all these clues. I could just hand them over to Ulrich to be like, hey, at some point, Becker just imparts this knowledge to people. And he was like, I'm on it. And Legacy was like, yeah, I can be kind of mysterious and somewhat creepy. And also, I'm going to do a bunch of things that you didn't ask me to do in the background. So it was like wonderful. Wonderful.
I think my favorite was... Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say my favorite's definitely got to probably be Cheryl.
Oh yeah, Cheryl was great.
The spider, right? The one that went and got spider mimosas?
Well, which Cheryl are we talking about?
Yep.
All of them.
The answer is yes.
Correct.
No, actual answer. I'm gonna go with Roger. Smaller part, but for some reason I liked him, and I think what really did it for me was like the drama episode where he's just like singing in the bathroom as he mops up. I was like, good for him. Look at him go.
I really loved that we all could hate on Dirk from accounting. It was just very fun. But I also loved all of the actual players and characters. But hating on Dirk from accounting really brought us all together.
Aside from the intern, who was the only one in his corner.
Yeah, she'll get over it.
I still
Frankie was
can't
also
believe
in
you
his
chose
corner.
Dirk from
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
accounting.
you know,
Frankie also like
Frankie-
to support him.
Yeah, Frankie for some
Yeah.
reason liked Dirk.
See, all of y'all are haters. Frankie's the only Frankie's the only real one. Thank you.
We don't
Amy
know
just
why
didn't
she
give a
likes Dirk.
fuck.
Nope.
Alfred
I-
had beef with Dirk.
I think that the reason why Frankie liked Dirk was just to be a counterpoint to Alfred. It was like,
Because Alfred
I
hated him
was-
so much.
yeah, I was never entirely sure that Frankie actually liked Dirk. Like secretly, she may hate the crap out of him, but because Alfred hated him, she was like, "Oh yeah, no, he's great. I love that guy."
She had to be
makes
contrarian
sense.
just to get under his skin.
Mhm. I actually really loved the Johns.
They were
I don't know
great.
why, but I just thought their mannerisms were so fun right from the get-go. And fun, I mean, I obviously didn't really like them, but I also really liked them.
Damn walking Italian flag.
I even
Fair
liked John
enough.
W.
Yeah.
For a while.
Until you
John
stab
W,
them.
your favorite John?
Oh no.
Oh, don't worry.
Definitely Blanc, I believe, was the one that I
We're-
had the back and forth with.
Yeah,
The one that you pointed a gun at?
Yeah, I just felt like we had a connection. When I was pointing the shotgun at him and he was kind of like, "We'll do it." And I was like, "You do it. It's fun."
No, what you
I feel like
had
he
was a
got me.
hostage situation.
I mean, I did quite enjoy the mental chess game we were playing, like the verbal game of chess. That was pretty fun.
That was great, but I also like to imagine the just sheer psychological, I wouldn't say torture, but the sheer psychological stress you have to undergo to lose control of your body, have both your kneecaps shot out, regain control of your body, and then find out that guy that shot your kneecaps out is now your boss. So the fact that John Ruse quit makes sense. Perfect
John
sense.
Ruse retiring is perfectly understandable, honestly.
Yeah.
Alfred is cool with that though. He's like, yeah, your position's going to be gone anyway, so that's fine.
The middle manager.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a good severance package.
Probably.
I feel like he deserves a good severance package.
There was probably
Yeah.
too much paperwork to get it filled to get it all.
The best part about the Johns was that I listed them in my notes as henchmen. They were all technically the same level of management.
Oh, perfect.
So, Scott, any thoughts on another season, or have the Envoy's story officially come to a close?
I mean, I could be coaxed into a second season potentially, but I don't know. I think it wrapped up neatly. If we did have a second season, I think that it would probably be, unfortunately, more mundane than the first season, unless I come up with some clever way to have continuous, bizarre supernatural things. I mean, there are some loose ends. There's a poltergeist. There's a leak that just moves around. And there's not really a strong understanding on who Leroy is. So I mean, I do have some things to play with in a season 2, for sure.
Also
Frankie?
the ants.
Yeah,
Oh,
also
yeah.
the ants.
I will
Yeah, I was
say,
thinking about the ants.
I would like at least a small mini series, maybe for our patrons,
Ooh.
Ooh.
to tie up some of those loose ends.
I could also see us going back into the field.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of you are in a different dimension.
Now she's back.
You don't know what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
there's a door. She can leave whenever she wants. She just hasn't.
Yeah.
It's been 84 years.
It has been 10 minutes.
We could always do Doctor Who style and just have special Christmas episodes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to do a special Halloween episode?
Mm.
That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could be coaxed
Thanksgiving
into that.
episode.
A special Thanksgiving.
He's gonna kill a bunch of zombie pilgrims or something.
We go fight a giant turkey.
Oh, that would be good too.
Oh, that is. That would
No.
make sense.
No, you guys are way outside the box here. No, it would just be a office Thanksgiving dinner party you'd have to go to.
We're
Scott, we threw
certain
out,
there's some kind of
No.
unknown thing
Mandatory.
going on, but there's none. There's no
We-
unknowns at all. We're
we
like,
threw
where is
out
it?
the box 6 months ago.
That is true.
So I think it is time for us to go ahead and get into our actual cups here. I have a big question for all of our players. How did it feel to, at the the biggest moment of the episode, to go back into the character's past and actually play them out a little bit?
I thought it was so fun. I really loved getting to like kind of dig into people's backstories and like expand on just the little blurb that we were given of everybody. It was just I really enjoyed getting to actually like go into Kayla's backstory and also interact with the intern. That was very fun. Not something I expected.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool, especially that like each moment we went back to was like the inciting event that got them involved with save, or at least put them on that path towards save. I thought it was really cool, and I enjoyed the aspect of like going back in time and seeing the same event play out, but with like a character having the knowledge of how it played out already beforehand. Because like in Alfred's like original backstory, he like barely defended against all these zombies, and because of that, he took up like gun trading and mixed martial arts because he never wanted to be in a vulnerable state like that again. So like when he gets sent back to that moment again, naturally he's like, oh fuck, and just immediately starts killing the corpses around him.
I'm heavily traumatized.
Yeah.
As you should be.
Emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
The point that Amy got sent back to is one, she was 14 when that happened, and she lost just about the only person she had, and it fucked her up just a little bit. Reliving that was not something I expected to do. And again, Scott, fuck you for making me care about Karen.
Yeah, so is Karen technically your fault?
That's what we implied by that
I would
scene.
like to once again go back to the fact that Amy was 14 and she was the one driving the car.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, but let's be honest.
I think the real
Yeah.
question in that is who's letting a 14-year-old drive this car?
I was wondering that.
Maria.
Poor choice.
Correct. Although it's not gone into much detail on how old Maria was, so who knows? But now she's a vengeful spirit, and probably hates Amy more than Amy ever hated her.
Well,
Rough.
that is very rough. But our next question is for
What about Frankie? How did Frankie feel about their scene?
Oh, it's a very good question.
very good question.
Oh, it was great to show everyone that Frankie hasn't changed one iota.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a smidgen.
It was great too because hers like also like the most mundane you could say out of everyone too. Where it's like, yeah, she didn't have any like weird fancy things going on. It's just like, yeah, I'm robbing people and there's this weird shit in front of me. Huh.
Nah, it's fine. Manitou aren't that weird. They're just deer-headed people.
He's so charming.
Pretty normal for Canada.
Yeah.
I did like that the creature that I was in front of was, you know, in a dark alley, and that I would walk down that and try to have a conversation with it. And I was hoping that would get across that like Frankie is extremely unstable, and has been her entire life, which explains a lot.
It explains the kleptomania.
And the making a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of making a deal with the devil, what was going through Frankie's head when she decided to make that deal? Well, aside from all the Cheryl screaming.
She was getting a friend. Did we not? Did everyone not catch that?
Is that all that what is going through her head?
I thought that was perfectly, in line. I was
No,
like, yeah,
it
that
was
tracks.
clear. I just assumed there was more going on.
No.
Was that it?
Yeah.
I don't think Frankie needs anything deeper than that.
She really does.
Frankie acquires things and people. That's what Frankie does.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, I met a whatever number dimensional being who seemed to like me because they were laughing at my jokes. Okay, so
I think that Cheryl was confirmed 9th dimension.
Yeah.
To me, the highest priced thing in that interaction is having a friend.
But also betraying your other friends.
You did break the contract.
That's a good comment. I wonder if I don't think Frankie probably saw it that way because I think a lot of people underestimate how Frankie kind of looks at the relationship she builds. I think she saw this being not only as like a new friend, but also she realized that they were probably more powerful than the enemies that we are currently trying to figure out because they were able to get rid of the things in her head and they told her that they would. And I think Frankie just trusted the being and was like, cool. So be BFFs. I can get down with that. You want to help us? I can get down with that. This sounds great. And if anyone else had been next to her, like Alfred or Amy, they would have been like, are you insane? But no, she 100% like, no.
I don't think Alfred would have been too opposed to it because in his mind it's like, I don't care how we go about this so long as these things leave. As long as they're no longer in our world, it doesn't matter. They can go back to their prison. Who cares? I just want them gone. So if he found out, it would just been like, okay, off course a bit, but that's on par for Frankie, so should have accounted for that.
Mm-hmm.
Enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah,
I will also
and he probably
say
could have
that
seen it that way.
Here's the thing: is we had the 8th dimensional beings under a contract.
Yeah, but we all know I didn't read that contract.
Yeah, but we knew
Very
it.
true.
You knew it existed. Here's the thing: we didn't have the 9th dimensional beings under any such thing, so they could have just been like, "Haha, that's funny. We're coming through now."
What are you? What? Hello, we did a handshake.
That is true. There was a handshake.
I saw that.
That was
That's
a
fine.
contract.
Verbal
Just won't
contracts
hold
are
up in
legally
court.
binding. Verbal
We don't know how
contracts
the
are
9th
legally
dimensional
binding.
courts are. For
That's
all
a
we know, it's
binding
very
contract.
binding.
I think that scene really, hopefully, kind of conveyed why Frankie has absolutely no interest in paperwork. She truly thinks paperwork is just paper. She doesn't think contracts mean anything. If you didn't do a firm handshake, did you really sign a contract? I don't think you did.
Legally, yeah, you could have.
I'm just seeing season 2 now as like everyone finds out that they're actually just inside Frankie's like cabinet thing, that she's like a 12th dimensional being and she's just having fun.
And I will take care of all of you.
That or it's a new group of characters, and they're all just the Cheryls that Frankie banished.
No, please.
Oh boy.
Yeah, can we be the unknown?
Yeah, season 2, everyone's the same characters, but you're all named Cheryl, and Cheryl now.
Nobody.
Mhm.
That would be a fucking nightmare.
It
That
really
won't
would
get
be.
confusing at all.
Now, Cheryl with the mole, how does this make you feel?
I don't think I. Oh, actually, I did give her a full name. I gave the other ones Cheryl, but then they had a number afterwards. But my best friend, or my new best friend, her name is just Cheryl, which I think we all understand, and there's no confusion there.
Like
Totally.
like just
Absolutely.
Cheryl, like capital J,
Yes.
capital C, like just Cheryl.
Oh, I see now. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first name Just, surname Cheryl.
First name's Just. Yeah.
Plain, simple Cheryl. Anyway. So I have a question for Scott. Since we actually have you and Legacy here, what exactly was Carla? Because we know that Karen is now a vengeful spirit. Thank you, Amy.
Well, Legacy, do you want to explain, or do you want me to sort of drive into what I know?
You know what? I would love to hear the experience that I gave you with that character. What exactly is Carla? Now that intern's name is fully in the know.
Well, I mean, first off, obviously an unknown. And how do you explain an unknown? Just kidding. Well,
How dare
I swear to God.
It's not known.
well, okay, so I made all of the SPCs from scratch. So I just used the rules in the book to make them. And what I was kind of going for in the case of the intern was a Carla, which by the way was Legacy's decision on the name. I didn't come up with the name. I have just the intern as the name of the character. But the creature basically had these evil way disciplines, these powers that they can use to erase memories and confuse people, but also like ride senses and observe. One thing that was missed quite a bit was that Amy constantly had the intern writing their eyes and ears. That's why occasionally she would get fuzzy vision and stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, Amy didn't have clairvoyance.
Yeah, and no one sensed the unknown while it was happening to be able to see it. Like every time it was happening, because it was only lasting for a scene at a time, every scene that happened, no one used sense the unknown in that scene, so it went away, and they didn't see it when it was gone. But the creature also had the ability to feed off of people's stamina and had a special weakness against silver, and was essentially unkillable except by silver. So in essence, the creature was a kind of mind-controlling vampire thing.
Yeah, she was essentially a psychic vampire.
Yeah, she essentially was a Malkavian.
God damn it.
Yeah, so like a vampiric thing that had the ability to ride senses and control minds. So yeah, psychic vampire, essentially. But because they were made from scratch, I wasn't following a template that was just like this monster that you find in the Chill book. I just read the instructions on how to make the monsters and like looked at some of them and how they worked. And I was like, all right, cool. So if I made this a potent monster, for example, then it was going to have roughly this stamina, roughly this evil way stat kind of thing. And then I rolled from there.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun. Because I'm pretty sure that for the first episode, they thought the envoys just thought that the intern was a little strange.
I laughed so hard when they were describing the dog man and the hag, and Legacy dropped the sounds like my boyfriend's parents. And I laughed, so I was muted. I had to be because I was laughing so hard. And then I just sent her like a DM that was like, "Are they really?" And she was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, that's canon now."
Yeah, we've got what, half dog, half fae, and Dirt comes out all human.
All human, yeah.
Exactly. It's that thing of like
the mermaid and the minotaur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Two human abs. Yeah, exactly. It was hilarious. I was laughing so hard at that.
It was a lot of fun to get to play an SPC in your game, especially when you said like have me just be weird and like make them second guess and be a little creepy. I was like,
Just be
That-
quirky.
Just
I think I said creepy and suspicious, and she was like, "Can do." Like that was basically the response.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
it was cool.
Right. I was wondering about that. I was like, was one of these two of either Karen or the intern as a psychic vampire, but I just wasn't sure which one.
Karen was basically I was kind of rolling with this idea of somebody who tries to get people to confess. But with all of the SPCs that were supernatural, I wanted to give them a kind of combat ability because I knew at some point the envoys would pull weapons on them. So in Karen's case, I was like, well, how do I do this thing where a person is like talking based? And then I was like looking at the powers and saw the shriek. And then I was just like, in my head, I just went, oh, Banshee, that makes sense. And then it was BP that was like, Banshees are basically vengeful spirits. And I was like, yeah, basically. And then we just went with that when we were talking about the Amy scene. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be traumatizing.
I
You
can't
fucking
wait.
think?
Can't wait to inflict emotional damage.
Yeah. And the Lynn's character, Darius, right, was basically an animated corpse, but had the, like, when we were talking about the things, we decided that it had a like this infestation. I can't remember what it's called. I guess I could open up the character sheet, but it has the ability to call upon a swarm. Yeah, it's swarm of
swarm.
things.
Infestation's a very different thing.
Yeah, a swarm of things. And then I asked him what his swarm was, and it was spiders. And I was like, cool. So I'm thinking now you're just a sack of moving bones that has like spiders all up in them. And that's where we went. And I was like, cool.
Ooh.
Peak
Okay.
swarm
Just a
box
sack full of
territory.
spiders.
Before we keep going, I have a very important question. Were the spiders in the walls his?
Yes, they were indeed.
Fucker.
Cheryl.
Cheryl and Cheryl.
Yeah, when you were
Follow-up
like,
question to that. How many eggs are in Frankie's hair?
Frankie, go roll a D100.
unknown
No.
at this time. But yeah, the spiders were Darius's spiders. I asked before the episode. That's when I asked what the swarm was, because I was going to involve them in the plot for that episode to lead into it, like linking up with that character later on. And when he told me spiders, I was like, that's fine. Then that's actually easier than, say, rats or birds, right? Because he could have done anything. It does specify rodents, so it could have been, I don't know, moles or something.
I have a swarm of star-nosed moles.
Exactly.
Swarm of chinchillas.
Oh, they're so cute.
Oh, that's actually
Exactly.
so cute, yeah.
Oh, they're blind.
They can't even see me.
So when the answer was spiders, I was like, okay, perfect. I can use the spiders in this plot line. And then you're all like, oh, we're gonna put one in my hair, and I'm like, cool. Now Darius is just tracking you constantly. Perfect. This just ties in nicely to the plot.
And then we fucking murdered him in 2 rounds of combat.
Well, fire will usually do that.
It kills most things.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, it's all about bugs. Leads me to believe he's some kind of bug creature thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Bugs
too.
don't like fire.
He's a bug man.
He's a bug man. How do
He's
I
like a less fun version of the Mothman.
Just a meat
he
sack
did-
of spiders.
He actually was invincible against the damages that you guys were doing, but fire was his weakness. So when you finally brought in the fire, then it was like, oh, well, now he's just going to die. But like all the other damage that was being done to him didn't affect him in any way.
Because it was like, it's like trying to like stab a swarm. It's like, okay, you got one of like 80 bazillion.
Yeah, it didn't really affect him in any way that was significant. I mean, sure, I was running it that you did the like 5 damage to him, but he had like 110 hit points, so I'm like, well, this is going to take forever.
Did
And
you
then-
give us that bottle of whiskey so that we would drink it or use it
Nope.
as fuel?
No, John Rouge just had a bottle of whiskey in his drawer. That was just a thing I had as notes for his office. Like a
Cool.
bourbon in his drawer. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we were in a lab. I'm sure we could have found something else that was
You-
flammable.
We
you
did,
would
didn't
have,
we?
yeah. Yeah, that was exactly it. There was a ton of flammable things in the lab.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
sure.
I'm sure there was at least some isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah, and I knew that when it was like I just didn't know when you were actually going to deal with that unknown. But I was like, if they're in the lab, then certainly that's easy to roll with, that they're flammable things.
So I have a question for all of you.
Mm.
How do you think events would have turned out if the dice weren't in your favor in the last episode? Like, what do you think would happen if the portal for some reason didn't fully open? What would you have done?
I think we would have been better off if the portal hadn't fully opened than what was actively happening. Because we had a big ninth dimensional bitch coming through trying to murder us.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that when I rolled to do the math, I got 84, and my thing I was rolling under was 85. So I was very close to not figuring it out, and I was very scared of what would happen.
I am so glad that you successfully figured it out, because had Amy gone back to trying to focus on the portal, she had 3 willpower left.
Womp womp.
Love
Mm.
that for her.
I don't know. Yeah, if we'd failed everything, it's like right, we're stuck with the extra dimensional things still. That's not good.
I believe
Now we just have more of them.
mechanically, one of us would have made it out alive.
I mean, behind the GM screen, I had like 5 different ways that you could have solved it, and then I had 2 ways that you could have absolutely failed it. So,
Oh boy.
I believe in tying up a story neatly. So there were other options to deal with that portal. You guys just took the most obvious route to deal with it.
Or some of the other options murder?
Yeah. Some of the other options were, just flat murder things. Actually, killing Worfen would have dramatically changed what happened next.
That was definitely Frankie's plan.
Yeah.
I was considering. I was like, what if I just like popped a cap in this guy right now? You're in like the
Mhm.
7th
I was
episode.
thinking the
It's like,
same
what
thing.
could have changed?
When he told us to all sit and I sat in the chair, I was hoping that the chair was pretty close to where he was sitting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you whether or not that would have worked out well for you, but it would
Yeah.
have ended
Probably
things.
not, but yeah, things could have happened.
I
I'm
mean,
sure it would have
everyone
been
always
fine.
says that things work out really well for Frankie. I don't know.
I did also have on the list of notes that if anyone did attack him and he didn't immediately die, which he didn't, then he was going to send them to the pocket dimension. So you walked right into that one.
It's like getting
Oh,
mazed.
that's perfect.
You've
then.
activated my
Mhm.
trap card.
Ah,
That's perfect then that happened after I met Cheryl.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you
That
made
would
it.
have been real
because
bad
I had no idea. Yeah, I had
beforehand.
no idea how anyone would have gotten out of that. But I was like, that would be season 2. Would be trying to figure out how to open a pocket dimension.
Frankie is always thinking 2 steps ahead. I couldn't even say that
Yep.
without laughing.
she's the expert chess player.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
She just sits down and says, "Go fish."
Sits down,
Yeah.
doesn't move any pieces. All right, checkmate.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen the meme where it's like the smart kid who can't understand why he's losing at chess, and then like me who's secretly eating all the pieces when he's not looking? That's like Frankie and like Alfred, I guess.
It's like, what?
So I have a question for Gary, Termite, and Kayla.
Oh.
So how are you all going to break the news to Leroy?
Oh.
That's above my pay grade.
Who knows? Like, I feel because I still don't know because it's all like timey-wimey shenanigan stuff that we don't really know how much time goes by before Frankie comes back.
Yeah,
so I feel like if it's... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, we also like don't actually know where she is, so
Yeah, exactly.
it might be easiest to just explain that she died.
Yeah, so it's like Alfred's already pretty despondent about it, even though he like keeps that kind of under wraps. So he would probably kind of like bring it up to Leroy, but Leroy being Leroy, it would probably be some kind of one-word answer, but full of emotion. And yeah, maybe they have a drink or something to commemorate the occasion. But yeah, I'm not sure. It would definitely be a touchy subject.
Leroy gets to be the first person invited to Alfred's living room bar.
Yeah.
Leroy is currently still in the hospital, so maybe Frankie would come back from the pocket dimension before he got out. Maybe.
Let's
Maybe.
hope.
Yeah, Leroy got really fucked up, so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Too many zombies.
Too many zombies.
One zombies was too many zombies.
And that zombie was Leroy.
God damn it.
God damn it.
He's just a guy.
He's just a funky little dude.
He is just a funky little dude.
So, this question is for Jade. On a scale of like 1 to 10, how stoked was Kayla knowing that the problem had to be solved with math?
12. She wanted to do the math so bad, and everyone was telling her it was a terrible idea. And so she was still gonna do it, even though she also thought it might be a terrible idea. So when it turned out to be a great idea, she was so happy. And she got to do the math successfully. So she was stoked. She was so excited. But she would have absolutely done the math even if it was a terrible idea.
To think the world was saved by someone doing an equation.
It all comes back to math.
It all comes back to math.
And that's why they teach you the Pythagorean theorem in math class in high school.
This is why I learned calculus.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Wow.
to say something about the system and like a D100 system overall, I knew that Kayla had an 85 in her forensics and investigation, right? In her financial investigation thing. And so I knew that even if you were to do the math and you were, unless you rolled like a 98, you could have flipped a coin and succeeded. So I knew that if you decided to do the maths, that it would work out well for everybody. So that was the thing I had in my pocket. I always like the players to like do cool things and get what they like to sort of win. So I was like, that's going to be a highly effective method if they choose that path.
It was very fun. So, Gary, is Alfred going to let the intern stay on as a new envoy now?
Great question, because I've actually been thinking about this a lot. Like, just a bunch of different things have been coming to mind about ways that Alfred would change up the office. Some of the things mentioned in the session being that, like, adding an intercom system so they don't need to send memos everywhere. The second thing was... What was the second thing that I said? Oh, yeah, getting rid of some, like, the superfluous positions. So, like, John's positions would have just been amalgamated down to, like, a single person. And either... Alfred probably liked John Vert more.
Yeah,
so he probably would have let Vert keep that job. And
we
then
had to combine them into one John.
Maybe that as well. With that, or just, like, let Vert keep the job, and then Blanc would get, like, demoted down to, like, an envoy or something. Or he would quit because he doesn't like that. Yeah, like Voltron, definitely. Another thing, and this pertains to like how he would handle like the intern / Carla, would be like, since it was in the contract, they would go through like a vetting process of every single unknown within the office, see if their intentions are good, more or less do like an investigation / interrogation to find that out, and then also as a precaution would have had to make them be examined to find out what unknown they are, what their kind of like weaknesses could be, have those filed away, So like if something does happen where they turn against the office, we have ways of just snipping that in the bud just to be safe. Other things though would be like Leroy like lives in the office, and since there's so many layers of security, it would just like make sense that for certain people, just to like live in the office, like add like a dormitory wing, add like a cafeteria. It just makes more sense. He would also probably like cut his own paycheck to make sure some of these new things could be done, so that he would end up making like a little bit more than he did as an envoy, but like overall just take a bunch of the money he would have gotten as the boss and just putting it towards like various different things in the office to make just life better in general. Also, triplicate would go down to like duplicate at most.
I mean, if you're not making a paper mache portal, you don't need so many pieces of paper
Yeah,
anymore.
you only need 2 copies.
Yeah, you would just be like, okay, we just need one for filing and the other one for like personal usage. We just get rid of the third one. It saves everyone time. Another thing he would probably do, because of just the general like outbreak incident, is like have every single employee undergo some sort of like safety training, so that like in a pinch they could serve as like an envoy. But like even that's not like their title or actual operation. It's just like if they get attacked by something, they have some level of defensive skills to defend themselves, so they don't just get murdered immediately. So those are some of the things Alfred would do as boss.
All very important things.
I do wonder if he would get rid of like the weird theme Fridays or not, or if he would just leave them because he doesn't care enough. Which does bring up a question I had. Since the last 4 episodes, Scott, were all on the same day, were there any other themes you had in mind for future Fridays that we never had?
Oh yeah, there was a whole list.
There was a whole list.
There was a whole list of them.
List.
Oh boy. Can we get a couple?
Felony Friday.
Felony Friday.
Let me see if I can find the list. It was a little ways back.
That was every Friday when Amy's around.
Right. We had Funky Town Friday, Fishing Friday, Flashback Friday, Photography Friday, Formal Friday, Floral Friday, Farmer Friday, Frankfurt Friday, Federation Friday, i.e. Star Trek, Feudalism Friday, Fantasy Friday, Felon Friday, Feather Hat Friday, Football Friday, Fez Friday, Footy Pajama Friday, Fatigues Friday, and Fanny Pack Friday. Oh, we did the Fanny Pack Friday.
I feel like Alfred would see that entire list, just scratch them all out, and just right next to it, Fuck It Friday, which is his own version of Casual Friday, where it's just wear whatever the fuck you want. It doesn't matter. Just if you want to wear a fucking farmer outfit, do it. I don't care.
Fuck It Friday sounds
Just
like the
Fuck It
best Friday.
Yeah,
It really
I'd vote
does.
for that.
I don't know. I was a fan of Flannel Friday.
On Fuck It Friday, you can wear flannels.
Yeah, it's just wear whatever you want day, because whatever you're wearing, everyone just goes, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a big list.
Was there like a secret I could have learned if I had been able to remember Carla's name? Because I was really trying for a moment, like particularly at the very beginning when she was taking notes on me, and when maybe she would have been like, under my arm, and I thought we were like, having a bit of a connection. I was like, we could be friends, but I couldn't remember her name for the life of me because of her ability. Was there a way I could have learned something earlier by figuring out her name?
I mean, maybe. She had a particular mission that Worfen had set her on. I mean, inevitably you learned it. She was trying to take notes on all of you. And so you probably would have found out sooner that she was taking notes on all of you.
I mean, I feel like we learned that pretty quick.
You did.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
and
but
potentially,
those were her superficial notes.
Yeah. She took her real notes when she was in the coffee shop. That way no one could see over her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But no, mostly that whole bit was to make you all super suspicious of her. because suddenly Frankie loses her memory.
I do have one more question for Scott. I gotta know, in the drama episode, Alfred had to play matchmaker for 2 of those research scientists, and I want to know, did those crazy kids ever get together?
I mean, they died like 2 weeks later, so
I was also wondering if they died or if like maybe they were some of the few that got out.
Was it a Romeo and Juliet type situation?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
It was fun to just play around, just to mess with you, to distract you from what was going on. Minor inconveniences are a great thing built into the system of the game. And you rolled with it, so I was like, all right, it won't just be a minor inconvenience; it'll be a whole bit for Alfred. I really had no plan as to whether or not they actually got together. It was like 2 weeks later, they all died, or like 1 week later. So they may have had their first date, and then it had just been like death. So
Tragic.
Well, the first day might have been bad, so it might have been like
yeah,
not
maybe it was
so
a good
tragic.
thing.
Yeah.
Put me out of my misery. This was awkward.
Jesus
It is now we guys see each other every day. Imagine like on that Friday after having to see them like every single day, the dude is like, just kill me, and then like gets devoured
and then
by
the zombies break out.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I didn't mean it.
I didn't mean it. No.
There he's just like, oh, thank God.
Yeah. Oh no, zombies, and my little lab door is unlocked. Yo, no.
Uh-oh.
I hope nobody comes in and murders me.
This is taking a very dark turn.
Yeah.
As most things do.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a horror game. I have a question for everybody.
Oh boy.
It's actually a question about the system. How did you like playing around with the system?
We don't have time for this discussion.
I'll put it simply. I think it's a very cool system. I like D100 systems already interest me. I think they're very neat because you're going based off of percentages and whatnot. But I also like just the whole token system where you're having like this tug of war with the Chillmaster. So it's a very neat little game, and I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. There were some things that I wish they went into like a little bit more detail on, just because it got a little
Like how much
confusing
damage
at
a gun
times.
does.
Yeah, pretty much that.
Still don't know.
Overall, I think it was a really fun system, and I liked playing it.
Yeah, it was an interesting system. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I think there were very good, fun aspects of it. I also, as you all know, because of my frustrations of being like, I don't know, it just kind of says that damage is done, and there's no reference to what that means. Cool.
Yeah.
Great job. When you hit it, it's like, cool. Like, how badly is it hurt? Who knows?
Roll d6.
Ugh.
Roll for damage. Yeah. I definitely think there were some things that could have been elaborated on a bit. There are some things, especially with the character sheet, that could have been streamlined a bit better.
Yes.
Namely stamina, willpower, and reflexes. The way they're on the sheet bothers me because it makes it seem like they're characteristics, but they're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if they'd organized it a little bit better so that it was like these things here and these things here, and then these derived attributes here. But I also recognize that the damage system that they use in the game affects those, and that's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that still could have been organized in a way that fit a little bit smoother, because it was like, well, can I just up my willpower? No, you can't just up your willpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that those 3 attributes do have skills tied to them,
mm-hmm.
but you can't up them individually.
I mean,
I
aside
said-
from specializing, you know.
Yeah, you can up the skills, but you can't up the attribute.
Right.
Which is frustrating.
Mhm.
Because it's not clear about that. I'm going to get off my soapbox, otherwise we'll be here forever.
I mean, I enjoyed everyone playing with the arts and stuff. That was fun
Yes.
to see. you guys do.
Overall, my feelings are mostly positive. There are just a lot of things that bothered me. The whole art system is really cool, though. I really like that.
I never really got into that. So I could hear all the cool stuff you all were doing, but
Yeah, I noticed that. I was
You're
like,
the only
wait a
one
minute,
on the
is
art,
Frankie
yeah.
not-
You
is
also had a
Frankie not having
larceny
any
of like
of those?
110.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Frankie's character definitely aimed more toward the more mundane acts than the magical acts, for sure.
Yeah, because no art, and then also didn't you have like the lowest Sense of the Unknown score? You had like a 12.
Yep.
Yeah,
Never
so
used
Me and Frankie both had 13.
I think I
Yeah,
had the highest of like a 35, and even like
Yeah,
when
which-
I first saw it, I was like, that's kind of low.
Like,
Damn.
I'd like to point out, a 12 or 13 is pretty solid if you don't have sensing. Because
Yeah.
it's a fifth of your
I think
perception.
I did sensing. I think I had sensing sight. But I
No,
don't
that
think
was
I ever
you
used
had
that.
you had really good eyes. That
Yeah,
was different.
sensing
Oh,
is
I just had really good eyes.
one
Yeah.
of the arts.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And I did not have one.
But there was something, so I thought about that too, because the numbers were so low, but I realized when I was going through the system that there are aspects of the system and how it affects the sense of the unknown. So for example, when the intern was like writing Amy's senses, essentially, it was like a plus 20 to everyone's sense of the
Yes.
unknown.
Yep, because
So-
it's a lot of modifiers.
Yeah.
And also, I think another part is that it's there to encourage the flipping of the tokens.
Correct.
Mm.
So
'Cause
that you
can-
flip the tokens to
just
automatically succeed.
I never sensed the unknown.
You did not. You didn't even try. You're like,
Nope. Not
No.
once.
I'm just gonna roll with it.
Times.
Yeah, I don't need to sense it. I just need to see it and see that that's a goat man. I know that. I
That's
can shoot
a
it.
goat man.
Why would I need to sense it with my brain powers? That's silly. I can see it.
You know, whatever. It's a Manitou. It's fine. I'll just talk to it and see if it wants to be friends.
Now, this man is made out of starlight and has a deer for a head. Let's talk to it.
Seems pretty chill.
I don't think anyone asked this question, but I'll ask. What was everyone's favorite like relationship between like NPCs and PCs? Obviously, I will say Gary's and Frankie's was obviously my favorite because not Gary's and Frankie's, but Frankie's and
Gary,
Alfred's.
the player.
Me specifically,
Gary specifically. But I was gonna say, because Gary and I weren't in like contact via like Discord or anything to talk about how we were going to interact with one another, it just happened to be we were like on the same page every time we would have a scene with one another, and I just found that so funny. As well as like
Yeah,
there was like
clicked really
yeah, it was a really obvious like trajectory though with their like relationship that you could clearly see like as an audience member for like from the outside. That I also thought was really fun.
For sure. I definitely agree on that, but not to just be repetitive. I'll come up with an original one for myself as well. I don't want to say myself, but I would like to say Alfred and Dirk, just because that was just a random NPC name I threw out at one point, and it turned into its whole thing for like multiple episodes. But other than that, it's just because of, like the last episode in particular, I think Amy and Karen's relationship is certainly very interesting and drama packed.
It's not healthy.
I really enjoyed Kayla and Becker's relationship. Like, they didn't interact much the first few episodes, but then at the end, I feel like they kind of like. They were just trying to be normal people, and everyone around them was causing chaos that they had to try and deal with. It was fun.
They were trying to be normal people while there's a fucking banshee and a vampire working with us.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to work with people you don't like.
Sometimes you have to work with the vengeful spirit of your former mentor and best friends.
Sometimes you have to work with figurative monsters, sometimes you have to work with literal monsters. It just happens.
I don't think that's true.
It is now. We signed a contract saying they get to stay.
As for me, I think my favorite relationship was Amy's relationship with the law. No, for real. I mean, they were all great. Frankie and Leroy was great. Alfred and Dirk. Carla and Dirk, which I wasn't fucking expecting at all.
Oh, yeah, no, when I heard Dirk, I just sent Scott a message. Just said, yeah, no, Dirk and Carla totally dating. And it's just gonna randomly come up one day.
Like when you joked about Dirk's parents.
I found the Amy Alfred interactions pretty fun to watch too, because it was like they were similar in a number of ways and they agreed on things from time to time, but then they also disagreed on things from time to time. So it was like an interesting dynamic to be like both of them being in the same corner with each other, and then also sometimes being like especially when Dirk came up and being like, I don't know, maybe you're being too harsh, And so it was just interesting to watch, like the Leroy thing, like just Alfred being like, Leroy's a zombie, and Amy being like, yo, you can't just call people zombies.
My guy, he's not.
It's 2023.
Chill.
You can't just call people zombies.
I think I changed my mind. My favorite was Leroy and Alfred. They were great.
It was a very one-sided relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Very
Leroy was just doing Leroy things, and Alfred's like, I'm on to you.
I'm on to you.
Even though he clearly sensed that Leroy was a human,
Totally
he's still
normal.
like, no, something's blocking that. You're doing something.
This guy is clearly Lurch from the Addams Family. What
Yeah,
are you all talking about?
You're right.
Hilarious.
Yeah, there were some good interactions.
I personally loved the relationship between Leroy and Frankie. Completely out of left field, but it was really nice to see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
What a
almost
great
broke up with
couple.
Leroy.
Yeah, you did. It broke his heart.
You monster.
Yeah, it turns out you're the monster here.
Um,
Aside from all of the actual monsters that eat people.
That was such a wild thing, like when Kayla and Alfred were going through the files on the things that broke out, and we got the bloody bones, and we just saw that there had been years that our office was feeding the thing children, and we're both just like, are we the bad guys? Are we the baddies?
I think we're the bad guys. That's not a thing that you can do. Just don't feed children to monsters, please.
Because in all honesty, unless in the case that Alfred didn't become the boss, unless someone else took over and also made drastic changes, he probably would have quit. He'd probably been like, I'm not going to work for a place that feeds children to a zombie creature thing.
Yeah.
It's just not cool.
It's not cool to feed children to monsters.
You can't do that.
And then he
Is
just
that
went
gonna
ahead
be a
and blew its head
poster in
off
the
anyway.
office?
It's 2023.
Mhm.
It is the year of our Lord 2023. You cannot do that.
You cannot feed children to monsters.
I can
This has
see
been
that as an advisory poster.
Yeah,
in,
this has
the
been a
bathroom.
PSA by HHS.
That's Alfred just tears down all of the motivational cat posters and just puts up you cannot feed children to monsters. Oh, right, okay.
Like your Uncle Sam.
Yeah. It's just Alfred instead doing the point.
But he's not
I
pointing.
want
he's just cutting that out.
you to do your job properly.
I want you to stop feeding monsters children.
I see him just with his gun out, just pointing. It's feed it children, feed it children to a monster. I'm gonna murder you.
I'm gonna shoot you in the knees.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Just a Smokey Bear kind of thing. Like, only you can prevent monsters by not feeding them.
By not feeding them. Or like
Don't
Alfred didn't
feed
even
the
put them up.
monsters.
It's just someone else did, but they're all depicting Alfred and he just sees them. He's like, who the fuck did this? I
did
agree,
this?
but who did
Definitely
it?
Meanwhile, Frankie's rolling
like Kayla
posters
did it.
up and hiding them.
Frankie's
and
just like
Frankie
in the
work
wall.
together.
She's hiding. She hasn't revealed herself to the rest of the office yet.
She comes
I
out
would
only
do
at
that.
night when it's just Leroy.
Yeah.
100%. I really wanted Frankie to be like, because I mean, she always saw Alfred as the leader, but if he had actually decided to be the leader, which he did, I think she really wanted to be like the worst personal assistant you've ever had.
He'd probably say no to it, but like, well, what's he gonna do to stop her is the thing.
Exactly.
Like, eventually you would just have to bring him coffee in the morning enough times and for him to keep saying, you're not my personal assistant, stop, before he just goes, fine.
And she certainly wouldn't be bringing you coffee. No. she would be in your office having the intern bring both of you
In
coffee.
your office, drinking your whiskey.
Yeah,
Just set up in my office. Doesn't even have her own desk. It's just like lounging around. It's like, go do your work. What are you doing here?
I got this couch off Amazon. I figured I would just put this together.
You're putting a futon in my office. Get it out of here.
See, she wouldn't answer the phone when it rang while she was in there. She would just make calls from your desk. Oh, yeah. Alfred just wanted this to happen. So, yeah, if you guys could do that.
I never said that.
Calls Karen is like, hey, is your refrigerator running?
Oh, no.
It's the worst prank calls ever.
It's like, Frankie, these phones only like work in the office. She'll know that someone in the office called
Frankie,
her.
the call is coming from inside the office.
She recognizes your voice.
Just the super save leader getting long voicemails of Frankie just being like, yeah, so then I had coffee and it was...
I think that's its own spin-off show right there.
Or like the way Frankie announced that she's back is that like one Monday, Alfred's going to go into work, check his like office phone, see he has 150 voicemails and just goes, oh no.
No.
Wait.
Just
drops down from a vent.
I feel like
Hello
Alfred's
there.
already been traumatized by voicemails enough. Maybe he doesn't need that.
Yeah, he probably would see that many and be like, oh no, any one of these could put weird dimensional
Any
creatures
one
in my
of
head.
these could be a parasite.
Oh no. Speaking of, that's another question I have for Scott. You said that there were like different abilities one could get for having the creatures in their head. What were some of the other ones? Because I know teleportation was one.
I had a whole character sheet for 8th Dimensional Alfred. It was literally called 8th Dimensional Alfred.
8th Dimensional Alfred, that's phenomenal.
8th Dimension Alfred.
And so there was the possession, which already happened. Haywire, which was the thing that you experienced when you used your powers and like everything went all crazy and lights flickered and stuff. The whispering, which you encountered. Teleporting, which you also encountered, where they, just discorporated you. The next one on the list that you didn't unlock was wound, so you would have actually been able to just do damage to things by looking at them.
That's cool.
And then the last one would have been the chill power, the send them to pocket dimension power. But at that point, the 8th dimensional things would have taken over, and you wouldn't have been a character anymore.
We would have had to banish Gary from the show.
Yeah. But the other side was that the things, they were, kind of incorporeal. They couldn't physically interact with things unless they were inside someone. So then I had given them the parasitic thing where they were feeding on you. Little thing in the background. But then also the one ability that I homebrewed and created was the power growth. So each time you used an ability or called upon them, I ticked off a power level. So they were getting more powerful and deadlier and more in control of you each time you called upon them. So you were slowly giving them control of your mind.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have probably stopped at like the wound one, not because like Alfred would have been careful with it, but because it would have been cool that he can wound someone just by looking at them, but it just wouldn't have been satisfying to him. He's like, no, I gotta shoot it. I gotta aim the gun and shoot them. Just looking at them and they blow up, not fulfilling to me.
How is the one that routinely suggested committing felonies the reasonable one when it comes to supernatural things?
It's a very good question.
Shooting things just isn't nice.
But it's
It is
fun.
great. Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be
We
fair,
don't
Kayla
shoot
had
our boss.
The first
mean,
rule to gun safety is
shoot
to
'em.
have fun.
Exactly.
Kayla actually had the do no harm sort of drawback, and so she
So did Alfred.
what-
I had reluctant to harm.
yeah. So Jade did a really good job of always trying not to actually hurt anyone. Like even when we had the fight the cultists moment in her flashback, she was like, I'm gonna do the non-lethal disarming kind of martial arts. And I was like, yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
I definitely towed the line on mine a lot, but as like coarse and rough as Alfred was all the time, his last resort was always harming. Where
Yeah,
it's like
and the main
when
thing
we
is-
saw. Yeah, go ahead.
It's reluctant to harm, like, people.
Yeah. So like when we saw like John Rouge acting all weird, Alfred like was like going over the calculations in his head. It's like, this is not John Rouge. This is like the
This
unknown.
isn't people anymore.
Everyone okay if I shoot him? Yeah. Bam, bam.
Yeah, but Jade was doing the, like I'm going to try not to harm the supernatural if I can avoid it kind of thing as well. So I really appreciated that role playing
it was good.
aspect.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
It was fun. I also just feel like we could have learned more by locking up Karen than by shooting her outright.
Fair.
Hey, we didn't shoot her. We threw a chair at her.
And that went
Me?
great.
And she caught it anyway, so.
It could have been the poltergeist.
It was.
Well,
the
that's also
poltergeist.
kind of why I shot John's knees out instead of just like going for the head, because it's like, all right, he's incapacitated. Put him in storage.
Yeah, no, the whole point of throwing the chair was to create some kind of distraction for Frankie to get out of there.
I think I actually really enjoyed that conversation with Karen.
Yeah,
I liked that
she
I was the person that was already willing to admit all of their sins that got
yeah.
an interaction with Karen.
It's like Karen was like, all right, tell me everything you know. And Frankie's like, oh,
Frankie's
thank
like,
goodness.
okay.
I actually have been needing to get this off my chest for quite some time. And just,
I really should see a therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. It's probably a good thing that Amy wasn't the one being questioned.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because Amy kept a lot of notes on everything that happened, starting from when they realized the intern was fucking with their memory. She started being like, okay, well then we need to write down everything.
Just
And
go
so
all memento on them.
She wrote down just about everything.
I just love that episode because there's like one less person to rein all the chaos in. So instead of having like the usual two people to go, this is a dumb idea, let's do something else, it was just Amy. So it was like things just happened. Things just happened when people got separated, and it was like, oh god, what's happening now?
We were doing our best.
You were doing your best, and
I
that's
think we
what
were doing
counts.
really good. We did really well.
Yeah.
It was a great episode.
With Alfred
did love my
incapacitated
interaction
from
with-
pocket shrimp.
I did love my interaction with Becker that episode.
Yeah.
Every decision Amy made was highly calculated beforehand.
Same.
Was it though?
It was
80%
calculated,
of them.
but Amy does not seem to be great at math.
No, I think in each situation she got exactly what she wanted out of it.
Same.
Fair enough.
Like, the whole point of starting that fire was to create a distraction. Because people would be worrying about the fire and not the people fleeing from the first floor and going to the place they were told they're not allowed to go.
I don't think I ever got to shoot my shotgun.
Nope.
You did not.
No, probably for the best.
Probably for the best.
For the best, because I think the only person you really had a chance of shooting was John Blanc. And I'm pretty sure he was also just a regular guy.
Yeah, just a regular.
He was.
The regular John.
John Vert was also normal, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Because he never picked up his phone.
John Vert was normal. Yeah, John Vert was normal, and then his memory got wiped.
Yep.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder who did that.
Can't imagine.
No clue.
It's funny because like the whole thing with the shotgun was like, all right, Frankie, I'm giving you the shotgun to show that I trust you. And then just the moment it got handed over, it was like, I regret this decision. This is a bad decision. Why did I do this?
The moment it got handed over and Alfred was out of eyesight.
It was like, okay, bad idea. Absolutely terrible idea. Why did I do this?
Alrighty, well, I think we are going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you all so much for having one last meeting with us.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
Very happy to have you all.
I'm
here.
sure I'll never be back on this show again.
Totally
Never,
understandable.
ever.
Not once.
All right,
You're
guys.
all banned.
Oh,
damn.
Man.
Good luck explaining that to the patrons.
Shit, you're right.
Half these episodes are just going to have one person on them.
Yep. All right, guys. I think it's time to get out of this coffee shop for the night, though. Getting a little weird
you
in
mean
here.
the mop closet?
A little wacky.
A little
yeah,
wacky in
we've all
here.
just been like kind of squished into a mop closet together. Not a lot of room.
Those people are still watching me.
Yeah, it's weird. Now they're banging on the glass. That startles me.
That sign clearly says, don't tap on the glass,
Don't tap
goddammit.
Get on nerves, Gary.
Well, for everyone who is still listening, though I don't know why at this point,
You should have stopped an hour and a half ago.
Right. These episodes are dropped Thursdays at noon for the $5 plus tier on the Patreon. They are released to the public 1 month later. Think about subscribing so that way you can be up to date with your talk news for Hallowed Haven Studios. I'm Saul, joined by my co-host Legacy, and I bid you adieu. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Good night.